The Borg are regarded as one of, if not the most imposing enemies in Star Trek. Whenever a long-range sensor contact reveals itself to be the solid silhouette of a Borg cube, there's an undeniable menace that comes with that implacable facade. Much of their fear is generated by their unemotional consumption of everything that makes an individual who they are, as well as the sheer level of power that their constant adaptation and assimilation has brought them. Now, there are some things that are far beyond even the Borg, for example the Q for their level of power and deific-like status, or Species 8472 who are just too alien in technology and biology for the Borg to assimilate. But there are a myriad of pieces of science fiction tech out there that could doom all if the Borg did ever manage to wrap their assimilation tubules around them. Of course, plot-wise, even if the Borg do acquire a groundbreaking new piece of technology, the chances are they will not implement it completely and it would be at the whims of the plot. So let's hope the Borg do not assimilate the power to break the fourth wall. But in my opinion, here are 6 technologies, species or informations that would be disastrous should the Borg assimilate them. Let's start with the obvious, Species 8472. The Borg are unable to assimilate these beings from another dimension because their biology quite simply resisted and destroyed any foreign material that entered it, including the Borg nanites, that would otherwise begin the process of assimilation. Should they ever find a way to adapt to this natural defence, the Borg not only would be able to begin assimilation of the species itself, but all their technology, which is also biology-based, and shares enough similarities with 8472 themselves to have that same immunity. Alongside some incredibly powerful shared weaponry, this has made the species a true threat to the Borg, and diverted many of their resources into combating and monitoring them. Although the Borg do manage to develop a countermeasure to their ships with the aid of Voyager, assimilation remained thankfully beyond their grasp. As of 2377 we know that the Borg were still engaged in operations against Species 8472, even along the Beta Quadrant, and victory against them would not only bring them a new wave of advancements, but also free them up to resume their focus on other things. The Voth are one of the Delta Quadrant's most ancient species, descended from the Hadrosaurus of Earth and have had millennia to develop their spacefaring technology. Although they have not progressed as far as one may have thought, given the literal epochs of evolution that they have survived, their technology is still superior to the Federation's and easily the Borg. Their large-scale city ships that rival even Borg cubes can not only match the transwarp tech of the Collective, but have large-scale transporters that can disable a starship and beam it into a secure hangar where it is at the Voth's mercy. Imagine if the Borg acquired this level of advancement with dampening fields and transporters. They are already apt at probing for a weakness and exploiting even the smallest transporter opportunity to beam in drones, and their ships are spacious enough to consume a vessel if not built for that purpose. With this tech they could simply approach, disable and relocate an entire ship without the struggle of tractor beams. Fortunately, the sheer scale of the Voth's technology is the reason the Borg have not prevailed against them, and likely will not for some time. Iconian Gateway technology is a relic of their fallen empire, which canonically is not as fallen as it may seem. They were primarily known for their ability to create gates that could transport an individual to any location without the need for a receiving platform and return again. Finding one of these intact gates becomes a concern for the Federation when both the Romulan Star Empire and the Dominion begin researching them, and they are littered throughout the galaxy. The Borg have already assimilated spatial trajector technology from the Sicarians, which is similar to this, but has a number of limitations. I assume that is why such trajector tech is only utilised occasionally by the Borg as an emergency escape for the Queen if she is currently residing on a cube. Iconian gateways effectively remove all of these limitations, truly opening up the ability for the Borg to appear anywhere at any time, and if Apocrypha is included, that would easily expand their reach to beyond the confines of the Milky Way galaxy. What if the Borg managed to assimilate a founder of the Dominion though? It's never mentioned on screen, but I think it likely that the Dominion have encountered the Borg at some point. The Dominion is at least 2,000 years old, often mentioned as older, and a massive power all by itself, and the Borg have been expanding their space for centuries in every direction. Given the expansive transwarp network too, that does reach into the Gamma Quadrant, then I would not be surprised to see the odd Dominion report of a Borg threat. Fortunately for the Founders, it's incredibly rare for them to leave the Great Link of their homeworld, which is buried far inside Dominion territory. Their military is nothing to be shirked at either, considering the trouble they gave the Federation, but for argument's sake, what if a cube made it to their home, assimilated a Founder on a mission, or found one of the missing 98 changeling infants? This is not really adding anything new to the collective in terms of technology, but they are bound to learn something from their morphogenic matrix, and a Terminator T-1000 drone would be horrifying. Not to mention the centuries of shared information and expertise in genetics that the knowledge of a Founder would bring. The Doomsday Machine, or Planet Killer, was a device with an unknown but possibly extragalactic origin. What is more terrifying about the prospect of them acquiring such a device is not the destructive potential, but its defensive. The Borg do not usually resort to wanton destruction of things in their way, they'd much rather prefer to assimilate it. For destroying an enemy they could study teaches them nothing. So it's not that the Borg with another terrifying superweapon is enough by itself, it's that the assimilation of such a weapon might reveal how to forge neutronium armour, such as the hull of the Doomsday Machine. Such a material is impenetrable to most technology, certainly anything the Federation has, and an armoured cube covered in such a material would be a truly terrifying prospect. The Travellers are an organisation that keep an eye on their interpretation of the tapestry of the universe and maintain that consistency. The individuals themselves can be of any background or species, it seems, but the abilities they develop can be cultivated and honed with training. These abilities are all based in the mind and allow the Traveller to simply step through reality and time at will. They can literally think themselves out of regular space-time and into another era, location, or even reality. But they are biologically mortal and still susceptible to injury and exhaustion. If the Borg managed to assimilate one of these individuals, it is possible, however unlikely, that they might learn just how the Travellers achieve their mental manipulation of space and recreate those effects. Imagine a Borg army that could appear wherever it wanted, at a whim, and not only that, cross dimensions and parallel universes too. In theory, all that is needed is a single collective of any universe to learn this, then they could travel to others, claim them, even joining with the other Borg collectives of those realities. That, in my opinion, is the most terrifying prospect for the Borg to assimilate, and the only reason I can think they have not done already is that the Travellers are elusive by nature, powerful enough to avoid such a scenario, or that the Borg would be incapable of replicating their mind powers. So, that is my list of things that the Borg really should not acquire for the sake of the entire Star Trek galaxy. Fortunately, many things on this list remain beyond the Borg's grasp for a reason, but should that reason be overcome by their insistent adaptation, then there would be trouble ahead. What other things can you think of? I deliberately avoided things like the Daud and the Organians, as I think they are too powerful to be threatened by the Borg, so I tried to focus on the more attainable threats. Thanks for watching. I've been Rick, and I'll see you again next time, so long, and goodbye.